Good morning, friends. So it's 20 to 8 here in Ferrara. I'm a little bit bleary-eyed because I set my alarm for 4:45 this morning to catch the Canucks Predators Game 5 of the Stanley Cup playoffs, which we lost, but it's okay. We're still one up. Anyway, so there is a quad in my immediate future, or at least 2 double espressos and a pastry of some kind. So I'm walking through to hopefully, if the cathedral is open, because there are works going on, get access to the cathedral before anyone else does. Which this is the way. Anyway, so Ferrara is an interesting town. It has this industrial vibe. It's all exposed red brick everywhere, including most of the churches and so forth. So you've got porticos, narrow alleyways, and an incredible amount of red brick. And like I say, industrial, because it feels like kind of warehousey. You know, you've got shady archways, big doors, small barred windows on the ground floor, that kind of thing. Which surprised me, I must admit, when I arrived, because it has a different character than most of the other Italian cities that I visited. So I'm on the hunt. Everything's shut. And it's Wednesday, which is a holiday day for me, so I can spend some decent time. But it has to be said, it's still very fun. All right, espresso time. And deserted. Wonderful. An early glance at the castle with Emperor Palpatine himself overseeing the whole thing. See what I mean about the red brick? Seriously though. But that is not my objective because it doesn't open until 10. I do believe that this coffee shop is actually open. Yep, really very civilized, you know. Round 2. Right, so sufficiently caffeinated. Just had coffee and a croissant at that little cafe there. Before I go along to the cathedral, a little bit of history. So this place, the Castello Este, which quite honestly just means castle, but I think it's more the fortress castle. Again, with the red brick, one of the very few moated castles in the area at all. And interesting history, actually, because 1385, the Marquis of the area, his name was Nicholas, and there had been riots because the river had flooded and taxes were really high, and the people were really pissed off. There was a huge riot. And Nicholas, he summoned the high official of the time, his name was Tommaso, to his palace, which is just along the way there, with people with pitchforks and torches outside. And he tried to calm down the situation, but eventually it was decided that Tommaso would have to be a sacrificial lamb. So he was shrived and all of that sort of thing, and given confession, and so his immortal soul would be safe. And then Tommaso was given to the crowd, who tore him to pieces. Very nice. And then Nicholas thought, we need a little bit more security now. So instead of living at the palace just 100 meters away, he decided to build this place to protect himself and the nobility from the people. So they joined the tower that was existing already and built this massive fortification. This is a castle. I mean, as much as I like Prague Castle is a cathedral surrounded by apartment blocks on a very decent defensive position. This place is surrounded by a moat that's fed from the nearby river with a group of underground pipes and stuff, and is pretty secure, really. You've got bridges and drawbridges and all the rest to keep the people of Ferrara out. I mean, you know, come on. Yeah. Anyway, and we have this statue here overlooking the whole thing of Girolamo Savonarola that just reminds me of Emperor Palpatine, really. So, Jedi. Anyway, I am now sufficiently caffeinated and feel distinctly more alive. And so I'm walking down to the cathedral. So I did gain access to the cathedral, but there was a service going on, so I backpedaled. I'll pop back in there in a while. But behind me is something quite cool, because it is a tower, Torre della Vittoria, Victory Tower. Actually fairly recent construction. It was built in 1928 and designed and does a good job of blending in with the classical red brick Ferraran architecture. It's a war memorial. It was built on the 10th anniversary of the end of World War I, where Italy was on our side, as it were. And the statue there of an angel is cast in bronze, and the bronze was obtained from Austro-Hungarian cannons. So it's really rather beautiful, actually, and has photos of the Ferraran war dead on the wall. So walking across the piazza, Tower of Victory behind me, and all of that is the cathedral. It's undergoing quite serious reconstruction and restoration works at the moment. It's of an age with the castle, late 14th century. And unfortunately, the facade is from that era and a couple of centuries of development after that. But the interior was gutted by a fire in the 18th century. And so most of what we see inside, and it's rather dark actually. I'm a big fan of like bright places of worship. Austere, but bright. And it's very much in that kind of realistic. The art has an air of realism, shall we say, and it's fairly dark and ornate. Not too much gilding or anything, but yes, it's very much of that kind of era. Anyway. Good afternoon, friends. So, a bit of a random one actually, as this place was closed when I was here the other day. The Chiesa di San Paolo, St. Paul's, and much like the cathedral, it's been decorated in very much a 17th century kind of neo-Gothic style, which is attractive. And there are several pieces that are clearly a homage to the Sistine Chapel. But yeah. Yep. Headed through the very centre of Ferrara, and there's a busker just round the corner with a fairly impressive system, has to be said. Playing a cover of Zombie by the Cranberries, as you can hear. Dolores O'Riordan, always missed. What happens if you cross an Italian palace with the movie Event Horizon? Always ruining. So, a very old, very cobbled street. Not cobblestones like Prague cobblestones that are kind of fitted and everything. More like very large pebbles, and billions of them around the city. Anyway, started raining. Now the Italians have got their umbrellas up and are running for cover. I am, of course, walking down the middle of the street. Come on, I'm British. We love the rain, even if you bitch about it constantly. But yeah. I have no idea what's going on. Very official speakers, and it's absolutely deafening. So the good news is, I finally found a tobacconist in this city that stocks decent cigars. All the rest of them seem to stock the Italian equivalent of Hamlet or something. So to find a couple of Romeo and Julietas was refreshing. Of course, that's wiped out my budget for the day for coffee and gelato. And so I'm sitting on the steps of the War Memorial, overlooking the piazza, watching people go by with their umbrellas, and drinking from my flask of Earl Grey tea. There are worse pastimes, to be honest. So I really like this little area here. You have a very nice restaurant that's on the Michelin list, and at the end of here you've got quite a cool bar. Spent one evening in there, and a cinema. I did actually go to the cinema last night to watch Civil War, but even after having spoken to the guy at the desk in broken Italian and English about Nick Offerman being the president in that movie, I went in and it was dubbed. So I came out and the guy was like, "Oh, I didn't think of that, I'm so sorry," and I got my money back. So yeah, but